Ow, fuck. I just broke my back on my chair, but it's fine. I'm fine. It's okay. I have another scary story for you guys. I feel like I didn't say that in my last video. Did I? I definitely did. I actually already filmed this video, but here we are. Kayla deleted it because she's a horrible friend. She's a horrible person. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. I actually filmed this video when I was in Miami. I filmed the second part to this right after I filmed the first part. This is a part 2, by the way. So if you haven't seen the first part, I will have it linked down below. But I actually filmed this right after I filmed the first part, but I had it on Kayla's computer and I hadn't uploaded it yet, but she thought I had. So she deleted it off her computer. So that's why it's so late. I'm really sorry. It's been like 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks at this point. I'm really sorry. But I got sick. I didn't have a voice. I have a lot of excuses, but here we are. I'm doing it, so it's fine. I also want to show you guys my awesome new shirt. If you guys, oh wait, I don't know what order these videos are going in. I think you'll see me open this up on Sunday. I got this awesome shirt from one of you guys. I fucking love you guys. Thank you to everybody who sent stuff to my PO box. I go over all of that in the video for Sunday. It's like a reading your paranormal stories video, but I opened up some stuff from my PO box and this was in it. And so I decided to wear it for this video because it's creepy and it's spooky and I have a scary story for you guys. I should have waited to say that until then. Oh well. I do want to put a little bit of a warning at the beginning of this video. I did this in my last one because once I got to the end, I was kind of like, oh shit. I personally really like the story. I think it's an absolutely amazing story. I think the way that it's written and the way that it ends, it's like so shocking, but it's just like, I don't know. I like, it's a different story. It's completely different than like, I have to burp. It's completely different than anything I've ever read. If you guys have ever watched like Law & Order SVU, I think you would love this story. It's very similar to that. If you've never seen SVU, it's kind of like a cop show, but a lot of it revolves around like rape and children. So without trying to spoil too much of the story, if you guys are uncomfortable with either of those subjects, don't watch this video. I just feel obligated to tell you guys that it is going to deal with some more serious issues. It's really not that crazy or that intense or that detailed or anything like that, but it's still there. So I feel obligated to be like, if you don't like it, don't listen to this. I personally really like the story. I was so like, I was speechless and I still am. I'm still speechless at this story and it's like, I've had like a month to process the whole thing. It's such a good story, you guys, but I don't want you to listen if it's gonna make you uncomfortable, and I don't want you guys getting mad at me because I warned you, okay? But we're gonna get right into it. Just like last time, I will have the author link down below. I will have all of his social media link down below. An absolutely amazing author, so you guys go check out his other stories. I'll have his Reddit link down below. He has like an Instagram, he has all of his shit. It'll be right there. I'm very thankful that he let me read his story. I'm so thankful for anybody that lets me read their stories because I love this shit and you love this shit. Let's get started. I need to shut up. Kinda need a drink. I'll be back. My sister just texted me and she wants to play Toontown. And here we are. Also, my Coke matches my pants and my shirt. I'm a mess, okay. I also just got my voice back like 2 days ago. Not even. I got my voice back like this morning. So, I'm gonna fuck it up again. So this is going to be part 3, 4, and 5 to I think someone else is living in my house. A dark, childish voice is yelling, "Mama," and it's running up the stairs. What was I supposed to do? Someone would have hid behind the door and attacked when the person or thing came in. Someone else would have just hid. A third person would have jumped out of the window on the second floor, which I was. But I was almost paralyzed. I just sat with the metal rod in my hand and stared at the door as it opened. It opened hard, and I could see the silhouette of whatever it was that had run up the stairs. It all happened so fast. The door opened. I saw a small silhouette, not even stopping when it opened the door, still running towards me. To hear it was not even as close to the scariest thing about it. It was small, but it ran very fast and very strange. It looked like a person, a small one, but still a person. The arms were flaying as it let go of the doorknob. It ran like it had a stiff leg and the shoulders were slightly misaligned. It was moving towards the bed. It ran up onto the left side of the bed as I sat in the middle. The bed is pretty high, but it started to climb up. I screamed from when it had entered the room, and as it climbed, I started waving the metal rod I had as it came closer and closer. I hit it hard in the head, 3 times I think. Once as it tried to crawl up in the bed, once as it fell onto the bed, and once as it toppled to the ground. When it had fallen to the ground, it was still moving, but it was in pain. I could hear, see, smell, and talk properly now as I realized that I had won the fight. It was that thing that just made the sound from the stairs, but it was just a kid. I just hit a kid in the head with a metal rod, and he was rolling on the floor in pain, and I could hear him almost starting to cry, but he was in so much pain that he couldn't cry, so he just moaned and he rolled around. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Here, let me help you," I said as I got out of the bed to hug him. As I got closer, I could smell him. He smelled like the sauna. Was he what caused the horrible smell in the sauna? Who is this? Whose is this? I got down, sat on the floor, hugged him, rocked him back and forth just to try and calm him down. I don't know how I knew how to do that, but I guess I'd seen it on TV. "Can I look at you just to see how you're doing?" I said. I could feel him nodding, and he was still doing his painful moaning. I took both my hands on his cheeks and slowly turned his face against mine. He was not a healthy kid. He must have had some sort of physical disability. His lower jaw was enormous compared to the rest of his head. He was cross-eyed and his teeth were crooked, but that might have been from where it hit him. His hair was brown, dirty, and the shape of his skull was odd too. It was lumpy, but not noticeably unless you held him like I did. I looked at him and thought he was probably around 7 to 8 years old, not much older. There was no way he was older than 10. 9 would have been a stretch. Even though he looked physically disabled, I could sort of give an accurate age assessment. He just kept on moaning, and I could see that I'd hit him more than once. I'd hit him behind his left eye, on top of the left side of his head, and the last time a hard hit downward across the whole left side of the face. He was bleeding from his mouth, and his left eye was bloodshot. I took him in my arms and carried him downstairs to try and help clean him up. He was starting to cry now as the shock had probably worn off. He said, "Well, why did you hurt me, Mama?" He was crying now. Did he just call me Mama? Was that what he meant? I thought so, and I said, "No, I'm not your mama. Is your mama here? Do you two live here?" I couldn't help but notice how light he was. He was young, but he was light, even for his age. I could feel his hip bones push against my stomach. He was that skinny. I just blurted out if he wanted something to eat. I stumbled on my words, so I had to ask him again so he could understand me. His crying softened, and he nodded his head. I laid him down on the couch and told him not to move so I could get him some ice for his head. He didn't listen, and he went up after me. He staggered, and I said he had to stay there. "But I want to come with you, Mama," he said. "I'm not your mama," I answered, and tried to lead him back to the couch. He got very upset by my answer and suddenly yelled at me and tried to hit me. "You are Mama." I had no idea what to do. I don't believe in lying to kids about these sort of things, but I was very compelled to right now. But I couldn't do that to him, so I just said, "No, I'm not your mama. Do you and your mama live here?" "Yes, Mama, I live here, and you come and give me food and stories." He would not keep his voice down. It seemed like he was not mentally stable, but if I'd been hit several times in the head with a metal rod, I'd probably be upset too. His strange speech was caused by his abnormally large lower jaw, but it was the whole way he was talking that made me think he was not all right. Had he just said that he lived here and his mama came and gave him food and stories? "I can give you food and I can tell you stories, but I'm not your mama. Okay, look, I'm gonna put on the stove and get you some food. Do you like French toast? I can make you some," I said as I looked him in the eyes. I looked at the eye that wasn't the lazy one. He was very ugly and he smelled horrible. I put the stove on and took out all that I needed from the fridge. I took out some of the chicken that I thought I could fry up just to get some meat in him. Our stove has sort of a curtain in front of it. This place is so old that having fabric in front of the stove is not called a fire hazard, it's pronounced fashion. My parents, as I said before, are such procrastinators. Were. I said that we could go get him a shower so he could get clean and get him to smell better while the food cooked. The bread was in the toaster and the rest in the frying pan, so I said we could get something done while we waited. He agreed, but not very enthusiastically. He had been wearing a hoodie and pajama pants. Both were too big for him. I said that he should take them off so they wouldn't get ruined. He said no. He was getting to me somehow. I was getting annoyed, but I felt like I could be annoyed because this whole experience was the strangest thing I'd ever done, not to mention it was around 3 a.m. I managed to talk him into taking off his hoodie and asked him if he had any more clothes. "You not give me anything else," he said. Did his mom not give him any clothes? Where is she? He thinks that I'm her, but she has to be somewhere, and I'm guessing not too far away. My panic started to build up again. Any second, an angry woman could come in and try to kill me for showering her son. I asked him when Mama left. "Many days ago, like this many." He held up his fingers. "Many darks ago, many nights ago." Had she left her kid alone in my family's house for almost 2 weeks? "Does Mama usually go away for this long?" I asked as I turned on the shower. He was still wearing his pants, but I thought I could let him do that. I have extra pajama pants he can borrow. As the water started coming down, he hugged me. One of his hands were at my breast, but I didn't think about it at the moment. I patted him on the back and said, "Okay, get in the shower. I'm gonna get you new clothes, okay? These smell really bad." No, leave," he said, still hugging me with one arm, his other arm on my stomach, that hand on my breast. He started squeezing my breast. "Whoa, you can't do that. That's my private part," I said, starting to get angry as I pushed him away from me. "But you want me to do that, Mama," he answered. What the fuck? "No, you can't do that. Does your mama say you can do that to her?" I asked. Now I was getting very frightened. What should I do? I need to call child services about this. Great, then I'm in the middle of nowhere without internet access or their number. He started to get angry again and said, "You my mama. Why you say you're not? You gone for many days, and you say you're gonna get Papa too. Where's Papa? This place is not safe. 2 people are probably not far from here looking for this kid. Should I leave him? Should I take him with me?" Both seem absolutely insane, but one seems less insane than the other. He has to go with me. We have to leave now. The only person I could think to go to was my neighbor, Kurt. "Come on, we have to go," I told him. I lifted him up, still dripping wet, and we ran to the nearest house, which belonged to Kurt. I banged on the door for a few minutes before he opened up, wearing a bathrobe. He took one look at me with this half-naked, physically disabled, and probably slightly mentally disabled little kid in my arms and said, almost yelling in a distraught voice, "No, no, no, not you too." "What the hell do you mean, not you too?" I asked him. What could he mean? Is there someone else with an underfed, wet, physically disabled kid in this house right now? "Come in, he'll freeze," he said with a heavy accent. "What have you done to him? Is he all right? Why does he have a big bruise on his face?" "What have I done to him? Well, I hit him in the head with a metal rod because he ran into my bedroom in the middle of the goddamn night and called me mama," I said, getting angrier by the minute. This is so weird, almost otherworldly. You people make me sick. I'm getting more and more tempted every day to actually call the police, child services, or some of my old friends to get you. I'm starting not to care what happens to me. His voice was getting upset. The gentle, quiet man seemed to have been pushed pretty far, but by who? Why? And what did he mean, not you too? I asked him, and he said, "You and your whole family are insane. What you're doing is wrong, treating a child like this. You're an adult now. Please come to your senses and stop keeping him in that house for days or weeks on end." I don't even know his name. Why is my family insane? What is going on? Does he live in our house? I almost yelled at him now. He answered quickly, "Are you serious? You don't know him? Have your parents kept this from you?" Well then, they might be better people than I thought. He seemed surprised, but he had a sarcastic tone. "Look, you're not answering any of my questions. Do you know him? What have my parents kept from me? Have you known about him all this time and not told anybody? What kind of person are you?" I told him so harshly. I got scared of myself. It seemed to take an effect on him. He became passive and tried to calm the situation. Okay, let's just talk. First I'll get him to bed, and I'd like some questions answered myself," he said, and went upstairs with the boy who had been sitting against the wall, staring at us the whole time. "Come here, little guy. How about we get you to bed? I bet you're tired. Look at him. When was the last time you ate?" The kid followed him. Did they know each other? He went away with the little boy, and I sat down on the first piece of furniture I could find. His house looked bigger from the outside. I could somehow tell that he didn't have many visitors, even if it was pretty clean. There were a few pictures around, mostly pictures of men in military uniforms. One was of what I could only assume to be Kurt, standing in front of some big container with wheels, with a building in the background, and in the bottom corner were the numbers 1943. I recognized the building, but I didn't connect anything at that point. I was so tired. I just really wanted some answers. What could my parents have been hiding from me? The kid? Did they know about the kid and never tell me? Kurt said the fact that I didn't know about this made him think better of them, sarcastically, but still, why? Kurt came back. He must have been tired. He went straight into bed. He sat down on the couch, slightly to my right. "Now, I need you to be honest with me. If I can tell you're lying, well, I can't really do much, but if I understand correctly, you don't know who that little boy is. Is that right?" I nodded. He continued, "I can tell you what I know, but I want some answers from you too. I don't know what to tell you. A week ago I figured our house might be haunted, and now I'm running with a wet kid to a neighbor's house in the middle of the night because I thought I might get killed if I was caught with him. Who is he?" "Well, that's a tricky question because I'm not sure myself," he said with a sigh. "Your mother came up here about 8 years ago, very pregnant, and went into the house. She had someone with her, but I couldn't tell who. It was a man. 2 weeks later, she's no longer pregnant, and she comes up to me to tell me she knows about my past. She told me many things about me, some inaccurate, but most of it right. Enough of it right that she'd be able to hurt me. She said that I needed to take care of the child from time to time and not ask any questions. She never told me the child's name. She said she'd make sure I came to the attention of the authorities if I didn't do what she asked of me. I could do nothing but obey," he said. He seemed very disturbed about the whole thing. "And the child she told you to take care of is the kid that I came to you with?" I asked. He just nodded. "You knew about this and you didn't tell anyone? Not child services, not the police, not anyone? You let a woman leave a baby with you, and when it grew up she left it alone in a house that was empty? Who the hell would do such a thing?" I yelled. "Keep your voice down," he answered. I can't contact the police or any authority for that matter. Why is not something you should know. I put my face in my hands and something just clicked in my head. Mom had a stillborn child about 8 years ago, I told him. As I said the words out loud, I just saw the pieces come together. This could not be real. That kid is not my sibling. Why would she lie about having a stillborn child? And all the visits to the hospital where she had to stay overnight and me and my brother couldn't see her. Holy shit, she was up here then. She took care of that kid up here. And then she left him here on his own? She left her child up here for a neighbor to take care of, I asked, very upset. Again, he just nodded. Well, she came up here from time to check in on him. He was to always stay either in your house or in here. I think she was ashamed of his disfigurement, and he didn't look like your father that much. I think that has something to do with it as well, he said. But they never let you come up here without them, so why are you here now? Why did they let you come here alone? They must have been afraid this would happen, he said. He didn't know. My parents both died in a car accident a short while ago, I told him. I can't say that he lit up, but I can't give any other real word to describe it. But it was from surprise rather than happiness. He was about to say something, but I interrupted him. Wait, the kid called me Mama. He thought I was his mom. My mom is that kid's mom? My parents are that kid's parents? The reason he's so skinny is because nobody's been here to give him food? I paused for a little while and then continued. We need to tell someone about this. Oh my God, my brother can't know. Nobody can know. How do we do this discreetly? He said, we don't have to panic. This has all happened here. To the outside world, nothing is different. We take a while to figure out something, and we tell whoever needs to hear, okay? If we sync our stories, people won't believe what the kid says. He's not very bright, and people will believe us. You can stay here tonight if you don't want to sleep alone. Use the couch. I'll take one of the upstairs chairs. I wanted to stay in my family's house, so I told him that and just left. He said that I shouldn't worry about the kid and that he'd grown to like the little guy. When I got home that evening, I walked into a cloud of smoke. I left the stove on and the food had burnt, but nothing was on fire. It just took a while to get all the smoke out. And since I'd been too depressed to get a new battery for the smoke detector, I quickly figured out why the alarm didn't go off. I've been thinking about what to do ever since. I've wanted to run away, but I have to take some responsibility. This is a kid, a human being. All that I've written about was about 2.5 weeks ago, and the kid had been with Kurt for that time. I came over once a day, and I'd grown to like them both. He wouldn't tell me what my mom knew about him, but after that night I came over, he had taken all of his pictures down. Why did my mom do this? Why would she treat a child like this? Her own child? So what if it's not my dad's child? They'd get divorced and they'd just take care of us all, and then the kid, who we didn't know the name of, would live with my mom and its dad. We would of course be shocked about this, and we might be angry with her, but she would be in a world more of trouble if this ever came up. What was her plan? To let the kid live here forever and hope we'd never found out? Well, I just found out what happened and why it became like this. I'm not in the house anymore. I'm in my apartment in the city, and I wish now that I'd never found out what I did. Something happened. What I've told you became the consequences, and then something else happened a few days ago. Right now I'm too shocked to even breathe. I can't believe I didn't notice anything when it all started. What I'm about to tell you is what happened a few days ago, and then the words that explained why everything happened in the first place. I found everything out because of a police officer and some papers I read at the hospital. I'll start with what happened a few days ago. I was in our house with the kid, and I was making him breakfast. Kurt and I had been feeding him properly for these last few weeks, and he was starting to get bigger and healthier. Kurt had been very careful with the food and told me about the dangers of overeating when you had not eaten for such a long time. He really knew a lot about it and told us that he had seen the dangers with his own eyes. I remember the pictures he had in his house, which were still gone. It said 1943 on a picture. Was he a veteran from World War II? He was Swedish, and I think they were neutral, but they might have helped with the refugees. Why did he take the pictures down? I've been making breakfast for me and the kid. I made these huge beef patties again, because they were deemed safe to eat for him, and they're pretty good. He had been given a bed in his own room, not far from the kitchen, a fact he seemed thrilled about, and I was to give him breakfast in bed. I told him to stay in bed and wait for me, but he got easily restless and wandered around his room and would often knock things over on the shelves and nightstands and so on. As I put the patties in the frying pan, I heard a crash. I ran over to his room and saw that he was beating the floor with a pair of binoculars. I managed to get them out of his hand and got him to calm down. He was very angry. He said he started beating an ant because it didn't want to be his friend. I told him that he cannot beat and kill things just because they don't want to be friends with him, and even though he said okay, I could tell he wasn't listening. I want my blankie, he said, and looked straight into my eyes. I never got used to his eyes. One of them looked one way, the other another, and I didn't know which one I should look at. I never got used to how hard it could be to look at him. Even though he didn't mean harm or bad things, he could not control his anger. He would throw tantrums in the middle of the night, and I could hear them from my house even when he slept at Kurt's. Good thing that all the trees stopped the sound from traveling so far. We could really tell that he was not all right, but who would be after being treated like this? I managed to get him back into bed. Your blanket? Okay, where is it? I asked him. He answered, Kurt. He had only one stable person in his life, and that person had the hardest name in the world for him to pronounce. I said that I could go over and get it for him, but he said I couldn't leave. How am I supposed to get your blanket then? I asked him. He got quiet because he hadn't thought about that. Should I go get it? I asked him again, and he nodded. I told him to stay in bed and not leave the room. This whole thing would take maybe 5 minutes. I went over to Kurt and asked him about the blanket. He knew exactly the one and went to get it. Including my walk and the time it took Kurt to get the blanket, I was gone maybe 10 minutes. When he got back, he just looked out the door behind me. His face turned white and said, Is the child in your house? Of course he's there, I answered. Where else would he be? Kurt ran towards me and pushed me out of the doorway. I fell onto the ground and hit my head on the wall on the way down. When I got up, he was gone, and I'd not even closed the door. I got up, kind of slowly, and looked out the door. My house was on fire. Smoke was filling the windows, and I could see a hint of flames in the living room. Kurt was almost at the house, still running, and I started sprinting towards the house. Kurt showed no signs of slowing down and ran towards the door and tried to break it down. It was locked. I had used the other door. I could hear the kids screaming in the house. He had probably never seen fire in his life and had no idea what to do. Kurt managed to break down the door and he ran in. I could hear him scream too. He must have broken something. He was over 70. When I was almost at the house, something else happened in there, and the windows crashed. I could hear them both scream. I took out my phone and I dialed 911. They said that the nearest fire station was in one of the villages and it would take 20 minutes to get there. They told me not to go in, but to try and find someone who might have any kind of fire extinguisher or water hose. I sprinted around everywhere to find this, but I only got to 3 houses before the fire department came. Every house was that far away. I got back to my house and told them there were 2 people in there. One of them was a child. We can't go in. The flames are too intense, a fire marshal said. We have to try and calm them down before we can send in the smoke divers. They seemed to take forever, but the smoke divers were ready way before it was safe to go in. The leader of them actually said to the marshal, Fuck you, I will not let a child burn because I might get hurt. I'm going. They asked me if I knew where the fire could have started so that they could take the safer route. The stove. The curtain in front of the stove must have caused the fire. I said it must have started in the kitchen and told them to take the back door, which I'd used to get out so you'd miss the kitchen. And then they went in. They came out with 2 very black-looking things. No, it couldn't have been them. We found them near the kitchen, said the smoke dive leader. The big guy was laying on top of the kid. Get them to the hospital. We might be able to save the kid. The man is gone. We managed to get to the hospital, but the kid was almost gone by the time we got there. He had breathed in a lot of smoke. I told the hospital everything and said that I didn't know who he was, but he was probably my half-brother. They called the police and I told the officer everything again. She got several calls during our talk and he had his colleagues check through Kurt's house. Well, this is an unbelievable story, said the police officer. But I feel like you're telling the truth. We found some pictures in Kurt's house, and we think we know what your mother had on him. What was it? Was it the pictures of him with his military friends? I asked. Those military friends are known war criminals. I was shocked. Our quiet Swedish neighbor had posed with war criminals? We believe he managed to escape justice and found that house and didn't move or hardly go outside since. How? We don't know. Some pictures had him with an Iron Cross, a medal in Nazi Germany. Just as I thought things couldn't get any more upside down, a nurse came in. He said my name and that he would like to talk in private. The police officer put their hand on my shoulder and said they would stay in touch and that they still wanted to know more. The nurse took me to a private room, sat me down, and talked to me. We're very sorry. We did everything we could, but we could not save the child. He took in too much smoke, and because of his physical disabilities, there was no way for him to recover. We think the last thing he knew was the anesthesia he got in the ambulance, so he was certainly not in pain when he passed. I had a hard time breathing. I did this. I left the fucking stove on, and I killed 2 people. Since we were told that you didn't know who he was, and that you were his half-sister at least, your words, we decided to do a DNA check on him, the nurse said. We compared it with your DNA, which the other hospital, who had to identify your parents, had. He was certainly your half-brother, but we need to know something else. Do you have any other half-siblings or close relatives? What? I asked. I was a bit thrown off by the question. Why did they need to know that? Well, I guess they needed it for some reason, so why fight it? I don't have any half-siblings, but I do have a little brother, or Little is to exaggerate. He's 21 soon. The nurse nodded and took down some notes. I'll tell you more about this later. I have to share this with your half-brother's doctor. I'll be right back, he said, and he left. He was very nice and very soft-spoken. I appreciated that very much because I did not have the best day. He had left a file on the table, the bottom one. He had taken all of his other files and must have missed one. I thought that things could not get any worse, so I might as well take a quick read. The file was about the kid. Cause of report. Post-mortem examination, origin determination, hypothesis confirmation. Patient's DNA check has shown many abnormalities. A hypothesis was brought up by the lead doctor, and with the unknown origin of the patient, his DNA was compared to his supposed mother's and his supposed half-sister to test the hypothesis. The hypothesis has been proven correct. The supposed mother and half-sister are indeed the mother and half-sister of the patient. The patient's deformations and abnormalities are the cause of... I couldn't believe what I read. I couldn't breathe. I still get shocked by the mere thought. How did I miss something like this? I threw up on the floor and laid there until the nurse came back and tried to get me up. I cried and I tried to punch him for some reason. I'm horrible, idiotic, and now I have to leave my life and start something new. I'm packing my bags now, and I'm going to South America to flee from this disgusting reality. The kid was not only my half-brother, he was also my nephew. I'm like still in shock, even though like I already knew what the ending was. Like I've already read the story, but the ending literally still leaves me 100% speechless. What? It is so different from any story I've ever read. The ending caught me so off guard, you guys. And I said this in my other video. I'm gonna try to like reiterate a lot of the things I said then. When I first saw the title of this story, I just assumed it was paranormal because I've read something similar to this or like with a similar title. I've never read anything like this before. And once I started reading and found out it was like a kid, whatever, I assumed it was like, I don't know what I assumed. Part of me started to think though that like when the mom came up there that like something could have been up. Like when the neighbor confirmed that it was the mom's child, like the mom came up and she was pregnant, whatever. I had a feeling that something weird was happening, but like I could have never in a million years guessed this ending. Oh my god. And if you guys missed it or you guys aren't really sure what happened, basically the mom had a child with her own son, and so then now the sister has a little brother and a nephew because it's like her brother's son and her mom's son. Oh, it reminds me so much of something like on Law & Order SVU. Again, if you guys have like never seen that show and you like this story or like you find this story interesting, you guys would love that fucking show. I've literally seen every single episode to ever come out. I love crime shows and I love police shows and stuff like that, and that's like the best one ever. Don't at me. And this just reminds me so much of like a story that would be on that show. Oh my god. Like it's a horrible ending. It's horrible and it's sad and it's disgusting, but it's like, oh my god, it's fucking insane. I don't even know how to like explain how I feel, but it's such a good story, and I love when I can't expect the ending like that. I love when it's just like this huge plot twist and I'm like, I hope you guys enjoy this story. If you want me to read more like this, I can try to find some, even though I was not expecting this. If you guys have any other stories that you want me to read, please send them to me. You can send them to my scary story email, but just put in the title like Reddit scary stories so I can differentiate between paranormal stories and a Reddit story. Or you guys can send them to me on like Twitter, Instagram, whatever, because those are a little bit easier to find. But I'm gonna go. I can't believe this story. This is the second time I'm reading it and I literally still can't believe anything. Did I already say I hope you enjoyed? I've probably said that like 45 times, but I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. What I'm about to tell you is what happened a few days ago. Also, not gonna lie, I got through that really fast. That's like the least I've ever stuttered in a story, except now I'm probably gonna watch it back and it's gonna be like not English the whole time. Story of my life. Whenever I stutter a lot and whenever I feel like it's gonna be really bad, I'm always like, wow, I did really well. Like I pronounce everything really nicely and you can really understand what I'm saying. And the times where I don't stutter at all, I'm always like, damn, yeah, okay, this is gonna be so easy to edit. And then I edit and I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Whatever. See ya.